These are two unreleased Transformers animated shorts from 2008, called Logo and Starscream's Fantasy. Considered lost media for the last decade and a half, I now have them, and this is the story of how they came into my possession. But most of this video is just me messing around at TFCon. I'm live from TFCon LA 2022, or as the kids call it, Transformers Convention Los Angeles 2022. Sea-Spray, do a backflip. I'm gonna win the costume contest. Welcome back to another Key and Carlisle daily vlog. We're in a vehicle. Shout out to sibling number 1 for driving me to the airport.
I'm your only sibling.
That's why I said number 1.
And
like, I'm just going chronologically.
That makes sense.
Yeah. This is my first ever trip to a Transformers convention. Going in, I really didn't know what a Transformers convention was. I just knew that, like, sometimes the people who make the shows sit at these tables up here and get asked a bunch of questions, and you can meet voice actors. I really didn't know much else, but I was like, yeah, okay, might as well. I've outsmarted the TSA. This was my first ever flight, and it was really cool to see how the level Sunshine Airport from Mario Kart 8 clearly inspired the entire flight industry. Right off the bat, there was Transformers level dialogue over the PA system.
Unattended luggage will be confiscated and destroyed.
The snacks were Transformers themed, they tasted like shit, they were not worth the $200, but at least I got a complimentary free flight with the meal. Shout out to Alaskan Airlines.
Where are you going? Alaska!
I don't understand layovers. I was now in Seattle. But then, eventually, I was in LA. Get me out of here! The first panel was dedicated to remembering Derek J. Wyatt, the Transformers animated art director who passed away unexpectedly in December of last year. At the panel were Marty Eisenberg, the head writer of Transformers Animated, Eric Siebenaler, the lead toy designer, and Josh Perez, who's a colorist that Derek worked with a lot in the years past the show.
Like men that have become very important to me. They all have shards of Derek in them, almost like broken all-star.
When I booked tickets for TFCon back in November, meeting Derek J. Wyatt was one of the things that I was most excited about for the whole trip. Pretty shortly after the news broke, I was hoping that TFCon would have a Remembering Derek panel, so I'm very, very happy that this was here. We got to show Eric Siebenaler the 3D printed Marauder Megatron, based on the toy that he designed back in the day that never saw a public release. We also got to see early designs for several TFA characters, like Swindle, Soundwave, and a vehicle mode for Mindwipe. And we got to see the unreleased proof of concept animation for the series that they used to convince the executives to produce the show.
We didn't have our voice cast yet, so we had to fill in for ourselves. So I made my voice debut as Optimus Prime and Bulkhead. Derek is Nanosec. Matt Youngberg was the news reporter. Mourinho Morongo, who was one of the directors, was Prowl. And then my 8-year-old daughter, Sarah, was sorry.
No one was hurt in the pier collapse, but it seems one of Detroit's new robot heroes doesn't quite know his own strength.
So what did so much damage to you anyway? An army? A giant mutated monster? A Decepticon?
Actually, it was that guy. The Autobot was pursuing this man, Nino Sexton, a small-time thief, now calling himself Nanosec.
Prowl's just spotted Nanosec out on I-94. He's speeding over his position now. Let's put the brakes on this speeder before he or anyone else causes any more damage.
Sweet! I'll be right in the sky! I never get to have any fun.
Transform and roll out.
Why are they gonna make this stuff so heavy?
Word of advice, super speed doesn't equal super strength. I thought you were a kid.
I am a kid. What's going on? That's not me.
Stay.
I don't do stay.
The voice to my side that you may have heard completely freaking out is my main internet friend Alex, or Glorious720p, who I got to meet for the very first time. But just to give you an idea of how appealing he is, I FaceTimed my friend Trinity. She's the one who helped me film the Lab Rats video on my other channel. And her very first reaction after FaceTiming was, "I like Alex's face." Then I reached out to the regular people from Regular People React to Beast Wars and had them react to Alex. All of the girls agreed he was attractive. Logan said he was mid, but like, okay, come on, okay, Logan, yeah, okay. And I guess the photo I just showed sort of spoiled the next part of the video. After the panel, there was only one thing to do. Finally meet Marty Eisenberg in person.
Hello? I love you.
He actually remembered me. He was like, "Hey, Kian," and I was like, "Oh my god, that's my name." He also revealed something to me. Not only had he brought that test footage, he also brought 2 unreleased TFA shorts called Logo and Starscream's Fantasy, but he was unable to show them because he only had them burned to a DVD, and TFCon didn't have a DVD player. So why did Marty think to bring those? Well, it was because of me. You see, I have Marty Eisenberg's personal email. If I wanted to, I could ask him billions of questions about Transformers Animated every single day for the rest of eternity, but I gotta show restraint because Gmail added a block feature. But one question I did ask him back in November is if he knew where those 2 shorts were. And he revealed, "Oh, I just have those." So I suggested that he bring them to a convention the next time he's a guest, and set my sights to TFCon LA because he was a shoo-in to be booked as a guest. These shorts have been on the back of my mind for a while, and they've been mentioned on the channel from time to time. These are, by all accounts, fully animated, and have been shown at BotCon 2009 and BotCon 2012. Fully animated, Transformers animated content exists deep in Hasbro's vaults, and probably under 1,000 people have seen it. Back in the present, Marty told me that he'd be back on Sunday and he would bring his DVD player. Logo and Starscream's Fantasy would be real. This is, a meal. The next day is when the main convention formally started. What I didn't realize is that apparently the whole main fundamental allure of Transformers conventions is something called a dealer room, where you can go in and there's just like thousands and thousands of action figures, toys. That's the whole reason conventions exist, and no one told me that. I didn't know those would be there. Alex and I immediately split off in our own A plots and B plots. He ran off to look at things, I ran off to meet cool people. The aforementioned Josh Perez, Josh Burcham, the artist of IDW Beast Wars, Maddie Cohen, who wrote the iconic Screen Rant article, All Bumblebees Ranked, that had TFA Bumblebee in last place.
Bruh.
I met the world-famous superstar YouTuber Ultra Primal, Dan Gilvezan, the voice of G1 Bumblebee, plus John Mosquito Jr., the voice of Blur.
Decepticons, Bobby. Decepticons, Bobby. Every place I look, I see Decepticons. I've got stupid missions and stupid missions, but the stupidest mission I've ever been on.
He says Decepticons above him, but it's just a ceiling. He just lied to us. I even met the king himself, David K. I don't need to explain what he did. This is David K., known in the Transformers fandom for his wine tasting videos.
Yeah, and Band-Aids.
Yeah, exactly.
Some wines actually smell like Band-Aid. Tennis ball, Band-Aid, and that's a good one.
It's good to know. Also, I'm glad you cast as Arshan, because normally with big movies like that, they just cast like Chris Pratt or something. So I was really surprised that you
I was
made it in.
surprised up until the last second. I thought for sure they're gonna replace me with somebody.
And probably something I was really excited about, I got to meet Jim Sorensen, the co-author of the Transformers animated Allspark Almanac. I'm here with Jim Sorensen, the Transformers expert. Got a hard question. What is Optimus Prime's name?
What is Optimus Prime's name?
Yeah.
Optimus Prime?
Jesus, he really knows his stuff. Plus some of my internet friends, Kabuki Aku and Val / Little Miss Chuffpa. The weirdest thing about meeting your internet friends in person is that you can't just end conversations by hearting the most recent message and then moving on. Like, you actually have to, like, use words to end it. And also, you have no frame of reference for how tall they are. Val is way taller than I thought she would be, and then Kabuki was way shorter than I thought she would be. I never would have guessed that, because when I talk to them on the internet, they're just like code, you know? They're just like, they're the computer, and they're just in my computer. Now they're real. I didn't know what to do. It was crazy. Next up, I wanted an autograph with Jeff Bennett. Unfortunately, there was an issue. He only took cash, and I didn't have cash. So I went to the ATM in the hotel's lobby, and it couldn't connect to my bank's network. I live in a small town. I even called my bank. I was like, hello, what is going on here? And they're like, yeah, we're not seeing that transaction. Like, this just not connecting. So I asked the hotel lobby people, where is the nearest place with an ATM? And they recommended a 7-Eleven that was 1.4 miles away. So while Alex had fun looking at the toys, I had to walk 1.4 miles to a 7-Eleven.
What is $50? And it's so, look at how cute it is. It's like super nice cars. This is Alternity. I've never seen an Alternity figure in real life, but they look absolutely incredible. Look at that. $1,400. Look at that price tag. It's like $1,400. Oh, wait, no, that's $450. $450.
What is this?
200 the balloons.
This is why I hate machines.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Out of curiosity, what does the Soundwave voice sound like without all the vocal filters on it? Like, what were you doing in the booth?
Yeah, you know, I was listening to it again, and I was trying to remember myself, but it was sort of in here. It was a little bit in here, and then they harmonized what I did.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, because it turned into a higher. I did it a little bit, originally a little lower, and then they kind of pitched it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they pitched everybody up a little bit, because everybody I listened to sounds higher than like Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Bumper sounds higher than I remember.
Yeah.
And Starscream was like really high.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened.
Later, I came back to the ATM to get B-roll video of it not working, and this happened. What the hell? What? Are you kidding me? I literally had to walk. Oh, God damn it. With that high-stakes urgent mission done, it was time to just hang out in the dealer room for a bit.
Look at these totally real figures that you could buy right now at retail.
I actually have this one. It's time for a trivia question. What color is Cheetor?
I'm gonna say he is lavender.
This one looks great. I had this as a kid. Orange Crane. Honestly, this looks like a remold of Silverbolt. There's a lot of love for the War for Cybertron trilogy today. Look at that OC. That's cool. Alright, Josh Perez, we're gonna have a super simple question.
Okay.
What is Bumblebee's social security number? This entire convention will fall to its knees at my hand. Now it's time to get serious again. No more fun and games. It's time to talk about something that really matters. I'm gonna win the costume contest. I'm dressed as this banana from Sam Witwicky's Kitchen and Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, the classic 2009 film. Sam from TFI Creations cried and became RIP Creations.
He's a banana!
TFCon guaranteed me that I would win a medal of some sort, so it was time to win that medal. Everyone got, you know, a decent, appropriate amount of applause. I came in.
The leftmost banana from Sam Witwicky's kitchen in So this I got here, a banana with a public service announcement.
So clearly I'm not actually trying to win, but I'm here to spread a message. You see, in this shot, it's a bowl of bananas, but in a different shot, seconds earlier, it's a bowl of oranges. I think Michael Bay was trying to say something deep and symbolic about it. I'm just here to let the world know. TFCon lied to me. Alex and I returned to our room. He showed me his purchases.
Okay, Alexander Cabrera, tell the world what you told me.
Don't say my full name.
Oh, okay, internet friend. Alex, tell me what you see.
So, as you can see on this figure from the 2007 Transformers film has told us a very deep secret. So if you turn to the back of the figure, you see the bio. It says, during the long process of being rebuilt by Autobot Ratchet, there was a lot of time to think. So in this first line, this implies that Jazz survived the first Transformers live-action film. Bumblebee specializes in speed. With the help of his teammate Prowl, however, he's learning important lessons about stealth as well. Wait, is Prowl teaching him to impersonate a cop? Is he teaching him how to be a criminal?
Alex also made me watch Transformers AMVs for way longer than I wanted.
This video is so deep and symbolic of Starscream and Megatron's relationship. This AMV just captures everything amazing about Transformers Armada's writing, you know?
I transformed Alex's yellow Transformer without his permission while he was in the shower, and this video will be the first time he learns that happened. But there was something on my mind. Marty said he would bring the USB DVD player tomorrow, but what if he forgot? He's an elderly, frail... I couldn't rest. And so we walked 1.6 miles to Best Buy.
Honestly, I kind of expected TFCon to smell like shit, but I'm impressed it actually smelled kind of like nothing. This is like the force field in Transformers Animated Season 1, Episode 5, Total Meltdown, when they accidentally put a force field around the...
I was thinking of the force field in Transformers Animated Season 2, Episode 1, The Elite Guard.
Both work.
Both valid force shields.
Yeah. My mom,
is this the Hasbro building?
Yeah, my mom actually told me it was close by.
What the hell? Every decision we hate comes from this building, apparently.
Yes, this is the master Hasbro headquarters.
Wow.
You stupid.
And when walking to Best Buy, we had to miss the 6 o'clock War for Cybertron panel. Overall, I'd say that this is less creepy than BotCon, less cringy than TF Nation. This one... Shit, what's this one called? TFCon. TFCon's where it's at. You need to come up with better names for your dumb Transformers conventions. This is like a spot the difference puzzle. The next day was the final day of the convention, and the first panel of the morning featured Marty's return. It was the Writing for Animation panel, at which sat Doc Wyatt and Kevin Burke of Transformers BotBots, Marty, Stephen Melching of Transformers Prime and Transformers RID 2015, and Gavin Hignite of Transformers Cyberverse and Transformers War for Cybertron. They spoke about working in the industry, and I got to ask them a question.
Alright, hello. Hi. Hello. So, I asked Marty questions for 3 hours on Zoom last year. I'll spread them out this time. So, when you're writing for a franchise like Transformers, you have like 40 years or something of, opinions on how the show should be from the fan base. You know, no matter what show comes out, people are going to be criticizing it. People looked at RID 2015, they're like, it's too different, it's too silly. Then they reacted to War for Cybertron, it's just G1 again, it's too dark. You know, people are hating on BotBots, it doesn't even exist yet. I don't need to remind you of Beast Machines. How do you guys, deal with that? Does it bother you? And what's your kind of, I guess, grieving process?
I have a superpower that I hope these guys share. I have this ability to go onto forums or go online, and when I read positive stuff, I love it and I pat myself on the back. When I read negative stuff, I don't even think about it. I just move on. You know, like that's just it. You can't let it stick. I have a writer friend I worked with who said something really, really smart. And I try to remember it when something's getting a lot of heat, which is the fandom is just as passionate about this as you are, and this is how they participate. You know, this is participation. It might be negative, you know, feedback, but it comes from a passionate place, and I try to keep that in mind. And now, as a fan of other stuff, you know, I don't, and especially knowing how hard it is behind the scenes. I don't, you know, to my friends and stuff, like, you know, so an episode of something comes out I don't love, you know, I might like talk about it and stuff, but I never go online and negative post anything anymore, because I just know, even if like someone's name is on the script, the content might not have even been up to them, you know, so you just can't take it personal, and I just try to be nice about it and all that.
I'd say for our generation, the framework has always been a version of this. Like a lot of these franchises have been around for so long. If we're going to Star Wars, Marvel, Transformers, you know, we've never been in the situation of doing the first show that has disappointed a fan base about something. That's part of the job. You know, when you get in, you're just well aware. And we learned it early because we did Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, then Assemble. We saw it very quickly. And then there's the cycle. Everyone's used to the cycle where you create a new show, it gets a whole new group of fans, but the old fans hate that show, then that show goes away, and everyone's like, you know, that show wasn't so bad. And then compared to this new show I hate. And then everyone's like, you know what, they should bring back that old show. And so it's a cycle, and we can generally, Doc and I can always gather how old someone was based on what their favorite Spider-Man animated series was. We could just be like, oh, you know, you were clearly 12 in 1984, and you were 12 in 1997. Like, everyone's got a zone in which it's their thing. What we have to worry about, we know there are long-term fans, like our age. We kind of have to worry about making sure that there are new fans coming into this, and that's gonna be some things that older fans may not agree with, but there's space for everybody, you know, and we have to make sure that's part of what Rescue Bots Academy was. You know, we have kids, and if kids turn on Prime, they might be freaked out and never want to watch Transformers, right? But if they turn on Academy, it's their gateway, and there's got to be a bit of a gateway. That's how comics were for us. That's how animation was for us. You know, we found our way in. My Spider-Man's from the 80s, and people from the 70s, you know, hate the Spider-Man I love, but that's simply how it was, you know.
The best one is the one you grew up on.
The best one's the one you grew up on.
There was something that happened earlier in our career that sort of put everything in context for me, which is we were working on a show called Ultimate Spider-Man. We didn't create it or develop it, but by the 4th season we were story editing it, and I was really proud of the show. I mean, it's a wackier, like, it'll freeze and you'll look to camera and talk, and kind of Ferris Bueller inspired, and break the fourth wall. And some people just absolutely hated it, and because it had just been spectacular Spider-Man. Greg Weisman's Spider-Man is with Vic Cook. It is a fantastic show. And so, but our episodes were airing, and there'd be a lot of comments like, I can't believe they canceled the great Spectacular Spider-Man for Ultimate Spider-Man. It was the first comment I read. Like, when our episode started airing, the first thing I saw was, I can't believe they canceled Spectacular Spider-Man for Ultimate Spider-Man, which, by the way, is not anything close to what happened. What happened was Sony lost the license, and there was I'm like, nobody canceled Spectacular for Ultimate. That was the first comment I saw. And I was like, oh, well, okay. And then we were asked to work on Marvel's Spider-Man, which was not like Ultimate Spider-Man. It's not sort of wacky and silly and no looking at camera. It was the buzzwords for that show were back to basics approach. And I was like, well, this will at least, I think, satisfy, it's an approach that will satisfy some of those Spectacular Spider-Man fans who were so upset about Ultimate Spider-Man. And then Marvel's Spider-Man started to air, and the first comment I read was, man, I can't believe they canceled the great Ultimate Spider-Man for Marvel's Spider-Man. This is so terrible. And I thought, well, you know what? You just can't. You know what I mean?
We're lucky to be here.
Well, yeah, you know, you just got to do your best, you know, and then you can't.
Yeah, and that's the thing Kevin was saying, right? You recognize that there is a cycle. There's always going to be backlash. And generally the backlash doesn't come until the product airs, and by that time you're so deep in the production, sometimes you're finished. You're not going to write anymore. Right. So the thing, and I think I may have even said this when you interviewed me on your YouTube thing, is the thing that I use internet comments for mostly is to see, well, what did they get? What did they understand? Whether they liked it or not, that's personal opinion. But did they miss something, or was something not clear? And sometimes when a lot of people comment on the same thing, it's like, well, that's not the intent of this story at all. What did I not communicate? So that I find useful. But yeah, I kind of go with Gavin and just say, if they like it, great. Sometimes if they like it for a stupid reason, I'm like, okay, I'm glad you liked it for that, but it has nothing to do with me. But yeah, and if they dislike it, again, if they dislike it for an intelligent reason, I can respect that. If they dislike it for a stupid reason, then I just brush it off.
And what's interesting about what we do is, even if they don't like it, everyone still seems to watch it. That's the thing I was not prepared for, was that people are watching every episode of a show that actively dislike.
That concept of hate watching.
Yeah, never
kind of a recent thing. But also to your point, is what we're paid to do is to find a new audience, to find, most of the Transformers we write are geared toward kids. So, they're not jaded. They're experiencing it for the first time. They didn't grow up on, any other versions of it. So we want to make sure that we capture the imagination of this new audience. That's what we're paid to do.
And to build on what Marty said, we're fortunate working in animation that we have such a long lead time. As he said, when the first episodes start dropping and fan reaction starts coming in, we're typically writing the middle of a second season, maybe the third season, and at that point,
die is cast.
Yeah, we trust in the show. We trust in the show that we've been writing and making all this time, and stay true to that.
Well, you were on Clone Wars, which is my great example. Like, that film came out, everyone seemed to hate that film. Now,
oh my God,
the world's greatest animated series. So.
That was one of the great highs and great lows of my career when it was announced that they were going to release the Clone Wars theatrically as a movie. It was written as 4 episodes of the TV show, and they ended up editing it together into a movie. And getting to see my name on a poster with George Lucas, Dave Filoni, John Williams. There's 9 names on that poster, and one of them's mine, one of them's George Lucas. Like, holy crap! And driving by Warner Brothers Studios, they had the gigantic poster on the side of the studio there with my name on it. Like, this is amazing. I can't believe it. And then the movie comes out and everyone hated it. Like, oh my God, this is so depressing. But it is what it is. Now it's a classic.
Yes.
When we were working on Avengers Assemble, I once saw a comment that was like, I wish they had good writers on this show like they did for Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. And it was like, that was us. We were both. We are the good writers. And they did get us.
I got that on Cyberverse. Yeah, for Cybertron.
Cyberverse and we're for Cybertron.
Joke's on you, I'm that jerk.
People said that about Rebels after Clone Wars, and it was like the same people.
Same people.
Yeah.
After this, I suffered my biggest public humiliation of all time. You see, earlier they'd been talking about the episodes they're most proud of, and Gavin couldn't remember the name of his episode.
I don't remember the title of my favorite Cyberverse, but
I will look mine up.
Yeah, okay. But the first season episode with the Plague of Rust.
And so I decided to educate him.
Also, Gavin, your episode was season 1, episode 7, Terminal Velocity.
Thank you.
I don't know if anyone noticed, but I noticed about an hour later. After all the times I made fun of Randolph for messing up his episodes.
We didn't know what it was until we did number 5, Megatron is my hero, and suddenly we thought, okay.
I made the same mistake. This was the worst day of my life. Anyways, it was the best day of my life. It was time to meet up with Marty. I recorded the panel and the guy sitting next to me asked if I'd put it online. And I was like, yeah, sure. So unlisted, I have that whole panel if you want to watch it, if you're that guy. While he was eating lunch with Stephen Melching, Alex and I headed back to the dealer room, where I bought the Stunticon Job Cheetor, some Auto Troopers, and this toaster guy. Why is he a toaster? That's so funny. And now, it was time. Marty emailed me and let us know that he was done eating lunch and he was ready to show us. So we met in the lobby, and history was made.
This is a clip that shows Starscream, supreme leader of all Decepticons. Oh, hail the greatness of me, Starscream. That's a galaxy train for his awesome power. Starscream is the only logical choice as leader. I will scramble the circuits of anybody that questions his absolute authority. It would be crazy not to do that. I just don't know what to do.
I know. For you, oh magnificent one, an energon snacker, perhaps a refreshing beverage. I'm sure my personal servant would be happy to oblige.
Oh, wise and beneficent Starscream, how could I ever have doubted your leadership abilities?
Taking everything in the scream. I know. It's like they were lost media by accident.
Like, that's the shot we saw.
They used that music in Black Friday.
The next time you decide to nod off during a staff meeting, I'll make sure your stasis nap is permanent.
Oh my god, that was awesome.
That opening shot of Starscream on the Autobots might seem familiar because that particular shot wound up in a different short called Starscream on himself, because all of the introductory shorts about the characters simply used footage from the show and other shorts.
After all, I, Starscream, possess all the qualities for a Decepticon leader.
The next short was Logo.
Let's see. I think this was it.
What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, Thanks. I needed that.
There we go.
So the original idea for Logo was that it would be the actual logo on his chest plate that was flipping over.
Okay.
But I guess it was too difficult to animate with the model, so they came up with Yeah, exactly.
Marty did in fact remember his DVD player, which means that all 6 of the miles I walked on this trip to and from places were in fact for nothing. Another dude who needs a shout out is this guy, who just happened to be sitting at the table and happened to know exactly how to pull the files from a DVD and drop them on a desktop. So I have these files. While I was allowed to share the second-hand recording of them, as they were supposed to be shown at this convention anyway, I'm not allowed to upload the full resolution version of them, unfortunately. They are in 480p, which makes me wonder if that's the resolution the shorts were produced at? The genuine kindness of Marty Eisenberg cannot go unstated. The fact that he remembered to bring these shorts based on some random email I sent him 4 months ago blows my mind, and the fact that he emailed me again to let me know he was leaving to make sure I'd get the opportunity to watch them was just something he didn't have to do but did anyways. There's a saying that goes, never meet your heroes. You'll be disappointed by who they are. That could not be further from the truth for Marty Eisenberg. Maybe that's true sometimes. I still have plenty of heroes that I'm yet to meet and could still turn out to be assholes. But Marty Eisenberg clearly is an exception to that rule. He is an unbelievably kind person, who's gone out of his way to help me out multiple times despite barely knowing who I am. Watching these shorts basically coincided with the wrapping up of the convention. As soon as we watched these, we headed back to the dealer room. The actors were gone, the tables were being emptied out, and everyone was filing out and making their final purchases. Thus, the sun set on TFCon LA 2022.
Please make your final purchases and make your way out. And we will see you again.
Emotional. Was that God himself?
Yeah,
Who the hell is saying?
I really enjoyed the experience. I had no clue what to expect, and it was half what I expected, half something else. It was cool.